The winner's mentality is crucial. Without it, even talented people fail to succeed. With it and hard work, even talentless people become extremely successful by becoming talented through those two means. A great paradigm of this is NFL quarterback Tom Brady. Someone recently asked if there was any innate skill someone needs to be a pro CSGO player, or if this Counter-Strike player, or if this theoretically spent, quote unquote, enough hours. There's this popular idea that 10,000 hours spent properly practicing, that is, anything, can give you, quote unquote, world class expertise in any skill, end quote. And this is from Malcolm Gladwell's The Outliers. Now, I certainly believe that genetic advantages, and by the way, Gladwell's The Outliers is actually an interesting read. I recommend it for anybody. But back to genetic advantages. I believe there exists genetic advantages in the form of physical properties. For example, what's called quote fast twitch muscle fibers, end quote, being linked to speed in American football, or the correct height-weight ratio giving someone agility in what we Americans term soccer, or height in basketball, or reaction time in Counter-Strike, or hand-eye coordination in both baseball and Counter-Strike, and also reaction time. However, outliers certainly do exist about players who have been able, through sheer effort, to put on the right weight and footwork and catching ability, and strength, like Anquan Bolden did. He did a lot of work in the weight room, out on the practice field, running routes. Anquan Bolden in the NFL was a classically / relatively slow wide receiver after his combine 40-yard dash of 4.71 seconds. That made a lot of teams not look at him, not look at his way, and he dropped down to the second round. And he was still able to dominate the NFL for many years against much faster competition. Or there's the example of the freakishly tall Zlatan Ibrahimovic and his ability to demonstrate, agile ability. I mean, he's demonstrably very agile despite being 6'5" or 6'7" or something. He has the ability to turn with the precision of much slighter men and to control the ball masterfully despite the limitations of a bigger foot. Or certainly there's the example of Muggsy Bogues, for instance. The star example of a 5'3" man who worked hard enough and was skilled enough to start 556 games in the NBA. So these are certainly, outliers and fantastic examples that if one works hard enough, they can be anything. Great. What a nice story for millennials, right? But I think there's a spectrum that is often overlooked, and it's so shameful that it's overlooked. And that spectrum, when people talk about innate skill or just spending enough hours, is the mental aspect. I think there is an innate personality type you must assume when playing the game to be a competitive winner. This does not need to carry over to one's personal life, but there is a drive that must exist. And in fact, I think this drive existed in every name I mentioned previously. I think this mental aspect of the winner's mentality allowed these people to persevere, to self-motivate, to not wait around for motivation, which is huge, by the way, but to go in and give the maximum effort they had constantly, regardless of whether you're motivated or not, in order to really improve your craft. Now, with this being said, I also think these people took this personality, in their free time, in the weight room, out on the practice field, and they did the extra step a lot of people don't do by taking it to the game, taking it to the competition itself. And that's the true winner's mentality. There must exist the mentality of, I want the ball and I'm going to score. The mentality of, I want to be the guy who makes the difference for our team to win. You don't shy away from glory. You say, I want to be the catalyst of winning the game. Throw me the goddamn football, Let me go out on this. Let me go do this. And I know that I can. I know that I can be successful. I know if you give me the ball in the last moments that I can make the winning play. Trust me. That's confidence. There's no room for shy guys on the competitor sphere. They can be shy in their personal lives, with their girlfriend, with their friends, in public, not talk much, strong silent type, whatever. That doesn't matter. That's irrelevant to this conversation. Once they get out on that field, that man changes. That woman changes. That person becomes a beast. Once they get out on the field, the court, the server, the ring, whatever, they transform. They become somebody completely different. They believe in themselves, and they have a desire to be the reason their team wins. A relentless desire. They have a desire to make the winning choices, and they believe in themselves more than anything. This is what makes successful athletes so attractive, by the way. It's that confidence. So there are a lot of people who don't have self-confidence. They've spent 10K hours at Counter-Strike and never made pro. Legitimate 10,000 hours, not idle hours, in deathmatch and in scrims and in games. Most importantly, and this is the distinction here, there are a lot of people who have confidence, okay, against main or premier players, but fold in Pro League or on LAN. The most popular permutation of this, to bring it down to the layman, is players in Counter-Strike who have confidence in a deathmatch server, but go play a competitive match, and all of a sudden, you're not hitting your shots. Maybe this has happened to you. What's the disconnect? Their mentality. The second that confidence and that winner's mentality folds, so does their shot at being successful. So that's why you see very successful players at semi-pro basketball or football or in college, but they can't hack it in the pro leagues because it is a very, very competitive atmosphere. Everyone's on the grind. Everyone's good. You have to want to win, and you can't crack. So there's a lot of players also who had this confidence for many years, and then as they got older and for whatever reason, time commitments, new competition, mental health, physical health issues, injury is a big one. They have lost that confidence they once had and self-belief, they once had. So the winner's mentality is crucial, and someone can spend 10,000 hours on any skill or game, but without that, they're not going to be successful. Now, the caveat to be added here is that I do believe in a growth mindset. And I'll go ahead and link the Stanford psychologist. She's actually she's the chair. She's like the something Stanford psychologist, Carol Dweck. She had a really great talk and made a lot of head waves about growth mindset. And I'll link it in the description below if you're interested in learning more. But essentially, not spend too much time on that. I do believe if people spent a portion of that 10,000 hours cultivating the internal dialogue and self-confidence to grow and improve their mentality into a competitive, driven, confident, successful one, even at LAN, at the biggest events, in the Super Bowl, in front of 80,000 spectators, then they can actually cultivate a winner's mentality. But 10,000 hours spent in the weight room, practice field running routes, catching balls, or deathmatch server, aimbots, KZ, and scrims is not sufficient provided that the winner's mentality is absent.